Señor Gerver, quiero darle las gracias por atendernos y por concedernos esta entrevista. Mire, le voy a explicar. Me imagino que usted ya sabe que en España tenemos gobierno, después de casi un año sin gobierno, y no sé si sabe, se lo voy a decir, que la ley de educación, de tantas que hemos tenido durante los últimos años en España, se ha convertido de nuevo en un arma arrojadiza entre los políticos españoles. Dígame, ¿qué opina de esto?
The greatest problem with education and politics is that education, if it is to be successful for our children to be prepared for the challenges of their world, we need a shift in the way we think. And that means that to develop education properly will take time. And it will take more than one term of a government. And one of the great reasons why education here and in the United Kingdom and in America is struggling is because every 4 years, every 5 years, new politicians come along and change the system. And this isn't leading to sustainable development and change. So what we need to do is we need to explore how we remove political intervention away from education. Politicians need to understand that their job is to hold education to account, but it is not to design education. We must leave the design of education to the experts.
Dígame usted, que denos una idea. ¿Cómo podemos quitarle a los políticos una de las armas políticas y electoralistas más importantes, como es la educación?
Well, everybody in Europe talks a lot about the success of Finland. Now, Finland, many years ago, took the decision to remove the responsibility for education development from politicians to the profession. But in order for that to happen, we had to ensure that the profession were skilled and confident to develop, to create a culture of action research, to push their own experiences, to challenge their own thinking and their behaviors. So if we are to create a similar situation, we need to invest in the training of teachers and educators and give them the time and space to research and to develop methodology which is fit for the future, which then allows politicians to question and hold the profession to account, but doesn't require politicians to design the strategies.
Ahora hablaremos de los profesores, pero usted ha nombrado Finlandia, un modelo casi europeo, universal dentro de Europa de éxito. Vamos a ver, los países del sur estamos un poquito complejados. Tenemos complejo de que nuestros niños son tontos. De hecho, los informes PISA siempre en ellos nuestros niños siempre aparecen como los más tontos de Europa. ¿Qué opina usted de esto?
Well, it's quite well known that I have very serious reservations about PISA. particularly how PISA is used by policymakers and by people in the media. The people at the OECD who create the PISA report will tell you that the ranking of countries is not a simple science. And whilst the PISA reports on specific academic tests, it doesn't, in that ranking, report on the diversity and other qualities of an education system. So, for example, Shanghai, which was top in the PISA report last time, are currently working on moving away from the academic model that got them to the top of that ranking. South Korea and Singapore, who are also high-performing states in the PISA ranking, are also moving away from the academic process that got them to that position, because they realize that the future of their economy requires their population to be more innovative, more creative, and more entrepreneurial. So while we, Spain and Catalonia, England, America, are focused on climbing up the PISA tables, the countries at the top of the PISA tables are no longer interested in PISA. So the critical point for me is we have to design an education system that is fit for our children, in our context, in our communities, and not obsess with one set of data.
Hablemos de los profesores, que bajo su punto de vista deberían ser más creativos, más imaginativos y no estar tan estructurados dentro de unos conocimientos para poder desarrollar las mentes de los niños de otra manera. Sin embargo, no sé qué ocurrirá en otros países, pero en España los profesores están muy presionados, no solamente por las leyes de educación, sino también en estos momentos por los padres, que se han incorporado a la gestión de la educación después de muchos años de ausencia.
Well, the first thing to say is that if our moral responsibility is to prepare our children for the challenges of their future, then we need an education system which reflects that challenge. Now, what we all know about the future is it requires young people to be more entrepreneurial, to be more collaborative, to be more flexible and creative and curious, to be prepared to take risks and to meet new challenges. If those are the characteristics we need to develop in our children, then we need to have teachers who are also capable of understanding those behaviors and those characteristics. And therefore, we need to make sure that teachers are not just transmitting information and knowledge, but are capable of developing the whole child in order to prepare our children well for the future. If we're to do that, parents and politicians need to understand that the nature of being a teacher has changed.
Dígame, a lo mejor quizás usted nos pueda poner negro sobre blanco en estos momentos en el gran problema que tenemos en España de roles. En la educación de los niños, de los adolescentes, de los jóvenes, ¿Qué parte le corresponde a la administración? ¿Qué parte le corresponde a los profesores? ¿Y qué parte le corresponde a los padres?
Well, I think, again, one of the things that is incredibly important is to realize that traditionally education has separated the administrators from the educators, from the parents. But I would broaden that group to include business leaders, charitable organizations, because we traditionally see education in silos. The future of education relies on a deeper level of collaboration, of working together. And we need to have more conversations between administrators and educators and parents and business leaders to talk together and realize a new vision of joint responsibility for the development of young people. Education has traditionally been too fragmented. We need to bring the process together. And the way we start that process is by breaking down the walls and having honest conversations with each other.
Cada generación tiene un reto, eso es evidente. Nosotros nos enfrentamos a unos retos importantísimos para la humanidad, el cambio climático, las crisis económicas que cada vez son más, están más cercanas unas de otras, los cambios de valores, cambios políticos continuos, la falta de ética también en muchos políticos y empresarios. ¿Para qué tipo de mundo necesitamos educar a nuestros hijos pequeños?
Well, I think there are so many things in what you ask that I think are so important. The first is that traditionally we have educated young people to search out certainty and to create safety for their own world. And maybe as a result, we haven't done enough in the past to educate young people to firstly realize their responsibility for the larger community, and secondly to understand that certainty now is not something that will be common for our children. So really for me, we have to help our children, who, by the way, I believe are very socially conscious and much more aware of human responsibility than any previous generation. We have to help them to collaborate with one another, to be able to activate the social challenges that they care about, to act upon those things, to look at the greater good, to help them to develop the skills they need to solve the problems of climate change, of socio-ethnic division, of global economic crisis, and to help them understand that they can only do that as collaborators. And also we have to help them prepare for a world that will become less and less certain. And therefore, I'm convinced that the way our children don't just survive but thrive in that future is to be committed more to each other and less just to themselves.
Le voy a dar un dato que no sé si le va a parecer divertido o no, pero los padres españoles están en estos momentos en huelga para que se eliminen los deberes de las imposiciones de los colegios de sus hijos. ¿Esto cómo lo interpreta? Por otro lado, los profesores no están en huelga, pero están casi a punto de iniciar una en contra del intervencionismo de los padres en los colegios. ¿Esto le parece divertido?
To enter into the system of the teachers. Do you think it's funny?
Look,
is it funny?
is it funny? First of all, homework. Homework is a really interesting concept because there is no evidence anywhere in the world that suggests setting formal homework makes any difference to a child's educational development. And one of the greatest conflicts in most houses is when a parent is nagging a child to do their homework and the arguments begin. There is always a clash between parents and teachers. And again, as with my previous answer, we need to stop believing that we're in competition with each other. Teachers and parents both want the best for their children and their students. And it's only by working together to question traditional methodology, to really ask, is that the best way for our students? And to collaborate to evolve and develop a new system, that's the only way forwards. So parents and teachers want the same thing. They have to work harder together to make that happen.
Y ahora le voy a dar un dato más serio, pero que no deja de ser curioso. Ayer mismo yo entrevistaba a un profesor de ESADE, sabe usted que es una de las escuelas de negocios, está aquí en Barcelona, más importantes del mundo, y este catedrático es director de 3 másters en finanzas en ESADE, en la escuela de ESADE, y está estudiando filosofía. Él me contaba que en las escuelas de negocios, desde que se produjo el crash de 2008, han decidido introducir las humanidades como asignatura obligatoria para sus alumnos. ¿Qué opina?
Well, I was finding out about this last night, actually, at dinner. And I think this is incredibly exciting and a very forward-thinking approach to the development of students as future business leaders. One of the things that is very clear about the world's most successful businesses is they have deep passion and ethics and belief at a human level in what it is they do. These are the companies that will thrive into the 22nd century because consumers, the public today, are more ethically conscious and more socially aware than ever in history. And they demand that the companies they buy from are companies which demonstrate high levels of moral and philosophical value. So we can't just train future business leaders to focus on profit. We have to ensure that future business leaders have a clear passion and focus on the social responsibilities they carry too. And therefore, for me, what's happening at the business school in Barcelona is innovative and will lead to the young business leaders in this community perhaps being better prepared for the future challenges of business than young business leaders maybe anywhere else in the world.
No se emocione, hay una parte B. Esos estudiantes, cuando llegan a hacer el máster a las escuelas de negocios, llegan después de haber realizado unos estudios en los que la filosofía ha desaparecido o se ha dejado como una asignatura optativa.
You know, I think this is exciting, this is important, but we need to thread philosophy and ethics through everything that these students are studying. So now we need to move from it being a separate subject to being something that is intrinsic. So when they're learning about financial leadership or human leadership or professional development or strategic leadership, all of those things need to have a philosophical slant, so that everything that these young business leaders are developing in their abilities and their skills and their talents always come back to a philosophical base. You know, for me, again, as I travel around the world and I work with some of the world's most successful and biggest businesses, what I see time and time again is that the leadership of those organizations are authentic, passionate, and focused on the development of human beings. And I believe that level of authenticity is what will define companies moving forwards into the 22nd century.
Vamos terminando ya, vamos de bajada en la entrevista, pero déjeme hacerle una pregunta de pega. ¿Existe el momento adecuado y el lugar preciso para poner en marcha una idea? ¿Tenemos que esperar siempre esas condiciones o tenemos que lanzarnos?
Again, a brilliant question to end with. Previous generations have almost been educated to wait to be told what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. If we are to ensure that we, our children, and future generations have a future, we need to realize that there is now a greater responsibility on us to be proactive. So if we see something that needs changing, we need to stop waiting for somebody else to take the lead. We need to lead and activate that change ourselves. There is so much talk today about the future of society being about entrepreneurship. And for me, the very essence of entrepreneurship is about having the courage to take action. And I would suggest that all of us, whether we're in education or in business or in politics or social justice, we need to stop waiting for other people to give us permission. And if we feel passionately that something needs to evolve, develop and change, we need to seize that opportunity for ourselves.
Déjeme terminar con la política porque no es muy diferente a todo lo que hemos hablado hoy. Se vota en Estados Unidos. Sabemos, parece ser que va a ganar Hillary Clinton las elecciones, pero Trump ha llegado muy lejos, muy lejos. Yo creo que nadie esperaba que llegara tan lejos en una candidatura. ¿Cómo hemos podido llegar a creer en el populismo de una manera tan atroz como para no permitir, sino aceptar que un discurso como el de Donald Trump cale en la población? ¿Tiene algo que ver la cultura y la educación en esto?
I think that the lessons that we will learn from the history of what has been happening in the last couple of years has a huge part to play in laying down the challenge for all of us in the future. You know, when you think about the traction that Trump has gained over the last 2 years, there is something, whether we like Trump or not, whether we like Trump's behavior and his message or not, there is clearly something that he is speaking to in people's perception that is activating a movement. In the same way as an English person I was devastated by the Brexit vote. There is something hugely important we need to understand about why people voted in such huge numbers to leave the European Union. In the same way that in Colombia, the populace voted against the peace agreement. We can dismiss these things if we want, but we have to learn and ask questions about why. Why in America is there so much anger? Why are so many people feeling disenfranchised? Why are so many people feeling that they have no control over their own lives? And my hope is that if Hillary Clinton becomes president tomorrow, which will be a historic moment, that she really takes time with her people to reflect on what it was that drove 150 million people to support a man like Donald Trump. And whilst we may disagree with him and his behavior and what he stands for, we have to do more to allow that 150 million people to feel a greater sense of control in their own lives again. We have to find a way to remove the anger that they feel for very real reasons. And my hope for the future is that all politicians will learn lessons from Donald Trump, from Brexit, from the vote in Colombia, and do something actively to reduce the anger and to reconnect people to society so that they feel that society can serve them best and that they can serve society best.
Da la sensación de que no tenemos líderes con el suficiente carisma. Parece que se ha instalado la mediocridad en los líderes mundiales. Parece que no hay líderes que puedan afrontar todos estos retos de los que estamos hablando. Esto, no sé si también, insisto, en el tema educacional, o es que al final pensamos con orejeras puestas. ¿Cómo podemos, cuáles son los grandes retos del futuro y cómo podemos afrontarlos?
I think that's an incredibly powerful observation. I think right now we're looking to our world's leaders at a time of unbelievable change and uncertainty. And people are definitely identifying that there is a lack of courage and authenticity and charisma and leadership, which is very unsettling for most people. But the question you raise, I think, is a very potent one, which is, are we raising generations of young people to be leaders? And my fear is in many places we're not. We're educating children to do what they're told. We're educating people to conform. And whilst in any civilized society, we need to learn to act together in the best interests for everybody, we need to encourage individualism. We need to encourage leadership. We need to encourage people to have more courage and more passion and more authenticity, to stand up for the things they believe in. And if we can do that, then hopefully future generations will have the kind of leaders society needs to steer us through this extraordinary point in human history.
Señor Gerver, espero de verdad que seamos capaces de crear esas generaciones de líderes que nos lleven a un mundo por lo menos diferente. Muchísimas gracias, bienvenido a Barcelona, a España, y insisto, gracias.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. I love being here. It's such a wonderful community and an amazing city. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ya está. ¿Ha ido bien?
¿Os ha gustado?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you for the time. I hope that was okay. Great to meet you. They say thank you. Thank you very much.